We've invited you all here this morning for a very crucial press conference bordering on critical issues that affect humanity and, of course, the nation at large. So I'll read from my text. The Coalition of Public Interest Lawyers and Advocates, COPA, a human rights and pro-democracy organization taking charge in the pursuit of sanity in the Nigerian political, economic, and legal space, in the interest of equity and justice, hereby calls on the international community as a matter of immense urgency to rein in on increased human rights abuses across the country by agents of the state. Over the past few months, incidences of human rights abuses by agents of state such as the Nigerian Police Force, the Nigerian Army, the State Security Services, etc., have been on an alarming increase, as there appears to be an institutionalization of the culture of impunity in human rights violations by agents of state, such that the body of laws in place to criminalize same appear to be upheld more in breach than in observance. In the course of our duty as public interest advocates, we have taken cognizance of a number of sordid cases of violation of fundamental human rights by agents of state across the country, which include but not limited to unlawful arrest and detention, brutalization, battery, and even outright killing of citizens on sketchy and flimsy allegations, and even in circumstances where citizens are going about exercising their constitutional rights, more so for little or no provocation whatsoever, as detailed in the following instances. 1. The illegal arrest, detention, extortion, and torture of Victor Ogbonna Osaze Friday, Ifeanyi Osuji, and Ifeanyi Oyekwere, and Chima Ikwunado late, popularly known as the Ikoku Four. This is a chronicle of travails of 5 innocent young men at the hands of the Nigerian Police Force. The story is replete from multiple media sources detailing the account of 4 out of 5 of the victims on how they were detained and tortured for no just cause, as well as how the 5th person, Chima Ikwunado, was left to die from injuries sustained from his ordeal with operatives of the Nigerian Police Force. 2. Arrest and detention of Lance Corporal Martins Idakpini and his wife, Mrs. Victoria Idakpini. Lance Corporal Martins Idakpini was arrested on June 23, 2020, after appearing in a viral video where he castigated the security chiefs for not being committed to end the incessant killings of Nigerians by terrorists and armed bandits. The wife of the patriotic Nigerian soldier was also arrested a few days later for granting an interview over the incident and was only recently released. However, the Nigerian Army has continued to hold Lance Corporal Martins incommunicado, denying him access to his family and, more importantly, legal representation, even after a court order was secured to that effect. Number 3, arrest, detention, and degrading treatment of the Revolution Now protesters across the country. Citizens of this great nation who took to the street in several parts of the country under the aegis of Revolution Now to protest the current state of the Nigerian nation, demanding reform in areas of security, infrastructure, and public service, on the 5th of August 2020 were brutalized, arrested, and detained for doing so much as holding a protest, peaceful protest, by the personnel of the Nigerian Police Force and the Nigerian Army. This is a sordid experience for the nation, and the country is doing nothing about it. Number 4, killing of members of the indigenous people of Biafra in Enugu. Only too recently, we have learned of the alleged killing of innocent Nigerians in the southern eastern part of the country on the 23rd of August 2020 by the operative of the State Security Services. What is particularly worrisome is that personnel of the State Security Service were alleged to have opened fire on a crowd of unarmed people in Enugu for reasons we are yet to comprehend, killing over 21 persons. It is not the point that these issues of human rights violation only became apparent of recent, but what is the point is that these issues have enjoyed a steady upward traction without any hope in sight, as there seems to be tacit support for this act by the very institution of state that ought to call these errant agents to account. What is much more disheartening is that these agents of state have arrogated to themselves the toga of untouchable floating court orders, as if they were above the law. This leaves us with a society where the institution appear to be no longer able to protect the weakest for us from itself. The question then becomes, what happens to the rest of us? This unwholesome new normal will have and has far-reaching implications for the Nigerian state. Moving forward, as it is eroding and will continually erode the democratic fabric of our then nation, if action is not taken, and immediately too. We therefore urge the international community to come to the aid of the Nigerian people and the Nigerians by making bold and assertive statements against the hijacked reality, at least for the sake of our collective humanity and our place in history. It is apparent that the Nigerian nation, particularly the people who have been saddled with the responsibility of protecting lives and property, are constantly failing in their sole obligation to the people. Why we need to call on the international community to come to the rescue of the Nigerian people is simply because we cannot keep quiet and allow our citizens to be continually murdered on a daily basis for this reason, particularly these atrocities being committed by state institutions. And so we want to call also on the Nigerian government to understand that there's a duty on every leader to ensure that their lives and property is well safe, and that governance must be done within the confines of the law. Let it be very, very clear that the Nigerian jurisprudence is settled on our hierarchy of law. Any law that is inconsistent with our constitution is, to the extent of that inconsistency, null and void. The law is settled under the Nigerian constitution that every citizen, it does not matter whether you're a military person, it does not matter whether you're a police officer, it does not matter whether you're an ordinary citizen, every citizen of this country is so entitled to freedom of expression. This freedom of expression can be curtailed, can be regulated, but that does not erode, that does not take away the position of freedom of expression. Assuming without considering that Lance Corporal Martins was wrong by his assertion by calling the service chiefs to order, it is also important that now that he has been arrested, now that he is under investigation, he is entitled to a legal practitioner to give him adequate representation. The fact that the Nigerian service chiefs are denying him opportunity to see his family, to meet with a legal representation, is turning the law upside down. And this is simply because we have people who are saddled with position of leadership, who have taken powers into their hands. I want to say without mincing word that Lance Corporal Martins is entitled to all the freedom of expression as a citizen of this country, and that the Nigerian military law cannot be so powerful and more important than the Nigerian constitution. Let me also contribute to this, that anyone who is being investigated for any offense at all, that person is entitled, even under the military law, is entitled to adequate legal materials, adequate legal representation, and all the legal facilities that is needed to ensure that his right is protected. And that is our position. We want to say that the Nigerian services, particularly the Chief of Army Staff, is turning the law upside down, is arrogating too much power, and we want him to know that even beyond his administration, we shall call the attention of international community to bring him to justice. On the second question, you talk about IPOB being outlawed by the Nigerian government. It is also settled that whether you call it IPOB or you call it anything, in every gathering of Nigerian citizens, these people who were killed are known as Nigerian citizens. They are members of this country. They were killed in the process of having peaceful gathering. The law is also settled that people have right to gather, to discuss, to have functions, to do whatever. It depends on what name or nomenclature you are giving to it. And do we have to actually argue about the fact that IPOB was outlawed? Was IPOB actually outlawed within the precinct of the position of the law? Was the decision of the federal government to outlaw IPOB follow the due procedure of law? But that is not even the argument. The argument here is that an organization of people sat down together, having discussion, and the Nigeria security forces came in and they make mess of them, killed a lot of people. This is because we have characters in government who does not place much value on human sanctity and human life. And we want to say that that killing is wrong, that killing is offensive, is against humanity, is against the tenets and the spirit of our constitution, and is against the purpose of every nation. Thank you.